Hare Krishna everyone, welcome back to the Shravanam Diaries podcast. I'm your host Sulalita Devidasi and we are continuing to read Teachings of Lord Caitanya by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is chapter 18, Conversations with Prakashananda. The word Vedanta means the last word of Vedic knowledge, which is to understand Kṛṣṇa. As Kṛṣṇa states in the Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Vedaischa sarvairaham eva vedya, quote, by all the Vedas I am to be known, unquote. When one actually comes to understand the Vedanta, he comes to know Kṛṣṇa and his relationship with Kṛṣṇa. And one who understands Kṛṣṇa understands everything. Moreover, the knower of Kṛṣṇa is always engaged in his transcendental loving service. As the Lord states in the Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattah sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam Buddha Bhava Samanvitaha. Quote, I am the source of everything, and everything emanates from me. One who perfectly knows this fully engages in my transcendental loving service. Unquote. A living entity is eternally related with Kṛṣṇa in the relationship of servant and master. Once that service is wanting, or in other words, when one is not situated in Kṛṣṇa consciousness, it is to be understood that his study of the Vedanta is insufficient. When one does not understand Kṛṣṇa or does not engage in his transcendental loving service, it is to be understood that he is averse to studying the Vedanta and understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The path of Vedanta study shown by Lord Caitanya should be followed by all. A person who is puffed up by so-called education has no humility and therefore does not seek the protection of a bona fide spiritual master. He thinks that he does not require a spiritual master and that he can achieve the highest perfection by his own efforts. That's one big delusion, I must tell you. Our own efforts, it's without the mercy of Shri Guru and Vaishnavas, we are basically one speck of dust, useless dust. But by the mercy and protection of the spiritual master and the Vaishnavas, it's just Hare Krishna. So, such persons are not eligible for studying the Vedanta Sutra. Those who are under the spell of the material energy do not follow the instructions of the disciplic succession, but try to manufacture something on their own. In this way, they step outside the sphere of Vedanta study. A bona fide spiritual master must always condemn such independent mental speculators. If the bona fide spiritual master directly points out the foolishness of a disciple, it should not be taken wrongly. A person who is completely ignorant of the science of God cannot be considered learned. more or less, everyone who is not in Krishna consciousness is subject to foolishness. Sometimes we display our foolishness by accepting someone who is barely educated as a spiritual master. It is our duty to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose lotus feet are worshipped by all the Vedas. One who does not understand him and is proud of a false understanding of the Vedanta is actually a fool. Mundane attempts at academic knowledge are simply another type of foolishness. As long as one cannot understand the cosmic manifestation as a representation of the three modes of material nature, he must be considered to be in the darkness of inebriety and caught in the duality of this world. A person who is in perfect knowledge of the Vedanta becomes a servitor of the Supreme Lord, who is the maintainer and sustainer of the whole cosmic manifestation. As long as one is not transcendental to the service of the limited, he cannot have knowledge of the Vedanta. As long as one is within the limited jurisdiction of fruitive activities or is involved in mental speculation, he may perhaps be eligible to study or teach the theoretical knowledge of the Vedanta Sutra, but he cannot understand the sublime, the supreme, eternal, transcendental, completely liberated vibration of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One who has achieved perfection in chanting this transcendental vibration does not have to separately learn the philosophy of the Vedanta Sutra. According to the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the bona fide spiritual master, those who do not understand that this transcendental vibration is non-different from the Supreme, yet who try to become Mayavadi philosophers, expert in the Vedanta Sutra, are all fools. Studying the Vedanta Sutra by one's own efforts, the ascending process of knowledge, is a sign of foolishness. On the other hand, he who has attained the taste for chanting this transcendental vibration has actually reached the conclusion of the Vedanta. In this connection, there are two verses in Srimad Bhagavatam which are very instructive. The purport of the first is that if a person is chanting the transcendental vibration Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, then even if he was born in the family of the lowest of human beings, it is to be understood that in his previous lives he performed all types of renunciation, austerities, and sacrifice, and studied all the Brahma Sutras. The purport of the second verse is that one who chants the two syllables Hari, Hari, must be considered to have studied all the Vedas, the Rig Veda, Atharva Veda, Yajur Veda, and Sama Veda. On the other hand, there are many so-called devotees who think the Vedanta is not meant for devotees. Such people are ignorant of the fact that Vedanta is the only platform of pure devotees. The great acharyas of all four Vaishnava Sampradayas have made commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra. But the so-called devotees known as Prakrita Sahajiyas carefully avoid the study of the Vedanta Sutra. Carefully avoid. The Prakrita Sahajiyas mistakenly take the pure devotees and Vaishnava acharyas to be mental speculators or fruitive actors. Consequently, they themselves become Mayavadis and leave the service of the Supreme Lord. Understanding the Vedanta Sutra by academic knowledge never enables one to understand the value of the transcendental vibration. People who are entangled in academic knowledge are considered conditioned souls who are confused about the facts of I and mine understanding. Consequently, they are unable to detach their minds from the external energy. When a person actually attains transcendental knowledge, he becomes free from this duality. And engages in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord. The Lord's service is the only means by which one can become detached from material activities. A person properly initiated by a bona fide spiritual master and engaged in chanting Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, gradually becomes freed from the conception of I and mine and becomes attached to the Lord's transcendental loving service in one of the 5 transcendental relationships. Such transcendental service is not a subject matter for gross or subtle bodies. Only when one can understand that there is no difference between the Supreme and His name can one be situated in Krishna consciousness. At such a time, one no longer needs to make grammatical adjustments. Rather, one becomes more interested in petitioning the Lord. Hare Krishna, O my Lord, O energy of the Lord, please engage me in your service. Lord Chaitanya explained all this to Prakashananda Saraswati and told him that he had heard all this from his spiritual master. He further informed Prakashananda Saraswati that his spiritual master had taught him that Srimad Bhagavatam is the actual commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam by Vyasadeva, the author of the Vedanta Sutra. A student's perfection is to understand that the identity of the holy name, and the Supreme Lord. Unless one is under the shelter of a realized spiritual master, his understanding of the Supreme is simply foolishness. However, one can fully understand the Transcendental Lord by service and devotion. When Lord Chaitanya offenselessly chanted the Hare Krishna mantra, he declared that the mantra could at once deliver a conditioned soul from the material contamination. In this age of Kali, there is no alternative to chanting this Mahamantra. It is stated that the essence of all Vedic literature is the chanting of this holy name of Kṛṣṇa. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lord Chaitanya also told Prakashananda Saraswati, quote, "In order to convince me about this essential fact of Vedic knowledge, my spiritual master has taught me a verse from the Brihannaradya Purana 38.126. Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama eva kevalam, kalau nastyeva, 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 gatiranyatha." Quote, "In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way." Jai. We're going to stop here for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. The link to this book is in the description. Please check out our website shravanamdiaries.com. Find links to this book, to all the books we've read so far. Check out the episode's timeline, the biography of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada.